Welcome to another episode of the Loadout Music Podcast, featuring in-depth interviews with a wide range of music personalities, from rock and roll Hall of Famers to Grammy winners and today's rising stars. Recorded in St. Louis, Missouri, now here's your host, Aaron Perlitz of Atomic Junction.
Welcome back to the Loadout Music Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Aaron Perlitz. Our guest today is a band that was formed in 2011 in Minneapolis, the Last Revel, and they've got a highly harmonized sound that's one part folk, one part bluegrass, and a little alt country. With the band's new album, Gone for Good, out now, we welcomed the Last Revel's Lee Henke and Vinny Donatelli to the show. Guys, how are you?
Good.
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Now, appreciate you guys making time. Let me ask you this. When you're touring around the country, and I know you guys have been on the road in recent months and you're going to be into the fall, when you tell them you're from, you're a band from Minneapolis, are they surprised when they hear your sound?
I don't personally get that. I think if we were like a super clean traditional sound, maybe that we would kind of get that a little bit more. But especially when we first were starting to get going, there are a lot of other or a handful of other bands kind of stretching their legs at the same time out of Minnesota that kind of established a reputation for the region, I think, of just like if there's a band from Minnesota coming through your town, it's going to be wild. It's going to be a good time.
Well, I mean, that's I guess an upside. It's funny, when I was listening to you, I and really kind of getting into your sound and also just reading some old articles and things like that. I got a real I will say a more authentic Mumford and Sons feel, and by authentic I just mean made in America, which I imagine would be a compliment because they those guys, until Rick Rubin screwed them up and made them sound like everybody else, they had a very, very distinctive, very unique sound when they first came on the scene.
Totally.
Yeah, I take that as a compliment. I like the idea of taking something that can feel pretty standardized, especially like the instrumentation that we use, and kind of doing whatever the hell we want with it. And I feel like it can go both ways, If you don't fit into a category, sometimes it takes a little longer for people to really grab a hold of it. But I'm proud of us for staying true and kind of making a sound that feels authentic and real to us.
Yeah, categories are weird these days just because of kind of the implosion of radio. I guess Sirius XM has been the only thing that's left to categorize bands or music styles, but categorization to a degree has really kind of just gone to hell. I mean, whereas it used to be very distinctive and we all had our lanes. There's a lot of bands that are playing some type of fusion of a variety of styles or what have you.
Yeah. I appreciate that. It's like, who wants to hear a bunch of the same thing, And it's hard to believe people. It's hard to believe them when they're playing the same exact traditional, genre specific style. I kind of want to hear like the personality of the band. So I like that. It's just sometimes it's hard to find them because they're all supposed to fit in these little boxes, but worth looking.
Yeah, I think, one thing that I always love, I personally, I don't know about you guys, but I hate playing covers. But when a band does play a cover and they really make it distinctive and unique and completely change the format of what we've come to recognize about that sound, I usually can find a great appreciation for that cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, talk about how you guys came together. I know you've been around for 14 years, and then you took a brief hiatus in 2019. I'd like to talk about that, but how did the band itself come together?
You want me to take this one, Vinny?
Yeah. I mean, you and Ryan were the kind of like the
Yeah.
starting starting characters in that.
Yeah, I met Ryan freshman year in college in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and we were there for their recording program in school. So it was like definitely music adjacent. Um, and they had us doing all of these like pretty intensive theory courses and kind of making us do some extracurriculars that felt like a stretch for us. And I was pretty much failing. Ryan was doing fine. But all of a sudden Ryan was like, "Hey man, there's this program in Minnesota that's just music industry. So we can kind of learn like the ins and outs of the industry rather than it being like specific and trying to fit into this like concert performance mold." So we jumped over to Mankato, Minnesota after a semester. And then after the first 2 days of that course, Ryan switched to biology. Um,
Which is
my,
so funny to me in the in the
yeah,
origin story of it all.
yeah, Ryan switched to biology, and I just kept kind of sticking it out in this music industry program that at the time kind of felt uh, flexible. Let's put it that way. Um, and all along, Ryan and I were playing music, and it was like our escape from everything else. And then when we were running a little short on money, we started a bar band so that we could make like beer and weed money, um, which was great. That was fun. But playing weekends, 4-hour sets, 2, 3 days a week, got to the point where we were like, is this still fun anymore?
Yeah, it's
And right around
exhausting.
that,
It's
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And right around that time, I met Vinny, and he was learning how to swing dance at a bar, and he had a mohawk. And I was like, I need to know this guy. Like, I gotta know him. And I went up to him, and I think, were you 18, Vinny, in the bar?
I
You were,
think when I first met you, I was 18. Yeah.
yeah, 18, and he's just like casually at the bar. And I was like, dude, what's your deal? And he's like, oh, I play fiddle, but I also play stand-up bass. And I was like, dude, we gotta jam together. And all of a sudden, music got to be kind of fun again. And then Ryan picked up the banjo. I picked up acoustic guitar instead of these electric instruments we were trying to force. And we just kind of started having fun playing music together again. And that was kind of the blossom of the band. And I think something we've held on to ever since is like, let's not let go of the fact that this was like therapeutic and fun for us. So we keep that kind of going now.
Was it fun because you didn't have to meet some expectation of a crowd and play Brown Eyed Girl 3 times at a 4-hour set, and instead
Yeah.
and instead you could just do something artistic that felt very organic as you guys were building a sound?
Yeah, I was writing a lot of those acoustic or those like bluegrass or bluesy songs or rock songs at the time. I was trying to write some, like original tunes, and I'd write them on acoustic, and then I would try and transfer them into this like blues rock thing. And that was just it was like forcing something that I didn't have to do. Um, and I don't know, some of my favorite music kind of like Modest Mouse had the banjo and the fiddle in it, but it was still like kind of indie rock. It still had like an edge. Um, and I think we just kind of like grabbed on. We were like, whatever. I don't care what this is. This is fun. I just want to play music with you guys. And then we did some open mics and people loved it. So we just kept doing more open mics, which we hadn't really done much of before. And we were just having fun with it. And then all of a sudden, we were like, well, we could just do this. We could just try and do this. So, and now 14 years later, we're still doing this.
Was it hard for you guys, as particularly as you're trying to gain traction initially, and you're also trying to find out or discover what your thing, your style is going to be? Was it hard to book the band because you have to be able to articulate that we are this to a bar owner or a booker or what have you, and they're the gatekeepers. And was that difficult, or were they kind of like, were you able to build a vibe or a reputation fast enough that it things just started to happen for you? I guess in your where you guys were living at the time.
Yeah, I think that it was kind of a little bit of both, where like obviously like when you're trying to sell hard tickets and like play the bigger, cooler venues, you're definitely bumping into that. But I think that there was a lot of crossover from Liam Ryan's previous experience of doing the bar band thing and our early years of booking shows ourselves. It was like a lot of those shows to begin with were just like we're kind of copy and pasted out of that playbook of just like all over kind of southern Minnesota and out in the boonies. Like there is a gig that will pay X amount of money for you to just entertain their patrons, to go entertain the people drinking at the bar, and
Yeah.
maybe you get some tips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that regard, I don't think anybody was really um, I don't think anybody was uh, trying to really figure out what our how much integrity our artist statement had, you know. Um,
That's funny. What about curious drums? Um, I know it's not kind of like a formal part of the band, but when you record, you're adding in percussion, of course. I'm bringing in, I imagine, friends or session players. But when you guys are on the road, do you, besides the three of you, um, is there more that comes with you, or is it simply the three of you doing your instrumentation in the guitar and the banjo, fiddle, things like that?
In the
well,
last
that
year, we added bass, stand-up
Yeah.
bass, full time. Because Vinny used to switch. He used to go back and forth from fiddle to bass, depending on what the song was. Um, and we got to the point where we're like, well, does one more person really take up that much room compared to a stand-up bass? Like we're bringing it already. Anyway, so we added bass full time, and since the beginning, the sound systems were so bad early on that we couldn't like hear each other. So we always had like I've always played kick drum in the middle while we play. And it started out as this kind of four on the floor thing, just to be
Mm,
like, here's where the beat is. And over time, it's kind of changed into a little bit more, you know, of a trained or percussion, I guess. And
yeah.
then we added Ryan now on banjo. He plays a little foot tambourine. So we
Okay.
kind of have, I've got the one, he's got the and most of the time. And that kind of makes us lock in. Um, yeah, so we do bring it. We can't fit a drummer in the van right now, so
And that's Ryan Kraus who's on the bass for you guys now, correct?
yep,
yep.
yep.
Yep. And it's interesting, when you mentioned that four on the floor. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Lincoln Durham, who used to be based out of Austin, now he's based out of Boston, but he basically plays a one-man show where he's oftentimes playing, four instruments at one time, sitting behind a full drum kit with an electric guitar, with a harmonica singing, and every once in a while he throws in something else. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's covering a lot of bases.
At what point did you guys feel like I know now, you've got management, you've got professionals working for the band, but at what point did you guys feel like maybe we've actually got something here that can give us traction that we can go beyond, playing bars in, southern Minnesota or what have you?
I
Man, we
think that
struck out a lot in the beginning, but go ahead, Vinny.
I mean, for me, it was like day one, it felt very much like, oh shit. Like there's like the first open mic night we played where there's like 30 people who came out just because they were buddies and friends and wanted to see us succeed, and they were like, dancing on tables and telling all their friends about how fun it was. Like that was rocket fuel right off the bat. That I was like, yeah, obviously we made it already. The rest of the world just has to catch up. Um, but in a much more real sense, I think that uh, we got to play the competition stage at this music festival in Montana called Red Ants Pants.
Yep, yep, very familiar with it. In fact, they just had some weather issues, so a bit
Yeah, I
great,
saw
great
that.
festival.
Yeah, that place is always going to be in our hearts, sure. I feel like just getting the opportunity to like really get outside of our comfort zone to even make it to play a competition stage over there. Um, that in and of itself was like, oh, they're like the universe is trusting us enough to give us a shot that like this is there's potential here for to like really make a career out of us.
Yeah.
Um, but then actually winning that and being received after like, you know, you drive, what's that drive? 16 hours from Minneapolis,
Something like that, yeah.
up to
You
White
get a deer
Sulphur.
on the way.
You hit a deer on the way. You kind of like you camp the entire time, so you're a bit haggard, but you're still full of enthusiasm. You play 15 minutes to a bunch of people you've never seen before in your life in an environment you've never been in, and they like it and they respond and or they vote for you and you win. And like that's really, I think that was a pretty pivotal moment for us, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
the festival thing is always interesting to me in that, you know, you get excited because you get invited to a festival and then they're like, yeah, your set's, 35 minutes. You're like, fuck, I want to play 90 minutes at least. And, I want to be able to show the full catalog of music and yeah, I can only imagine, but still just the opportunity to get up there and you got to blow them away in 15 minutes. I'm sure there's a little fear, that's kind of creeping in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I mean, we thought we made the biggest mistake of our lives on the way there. Like we were traveling in a Ford, what was that thing? Ford Explorer or something?
Mercury Mountaineer.
Mercury Mountaineer. We were traveling in that for like a couple years. That was like a leftover vehicle of your parents, right, Vinny? It was
Hmm.
like your first car. And we were like taking it up to the UP all the time. We were going all over the Midwest in it. And then like the day before we were supposed to leave on this long trip, that was done. It was dead. So we had to rent a van, and we'd never done that before. And we hit a deer like, I don't know, an hour before we got there.
In a
And
rental.
we're, yeah, in a rental. And like, we're dead broke. Like, if we made 50 bucks on any of those tours, it was like, we did it, We came back not in the red. Um, and like, I remember getting there and being like, oh, we got 30 minutes. Here's the songs. And the sound guy was asleep. We had to like wake him up.
He was
And
like
then he
passed out in the sun.
yeah, and he was like, "Oh, you got 15 minutes. Get up there." And we were like, "Oh God, this is like the biggest mistake," because we knew we weren't getting paid for that either. So it was just like exposure and like a total gamble. And I remember when people just started running towards the stage when we started playing, I I fall asleep sometimes thinking about that moment. Just like sometimes you got to roll the dice, and it rarely feels that good, but when it does, it's unforgettable.
So, so you guys are kind of, yeah, yeah. Tell me about it. I know when we go on the road, I'm just hoping that we break even, that we're just not losing too much money.
Yeah.
Um, so what happens I know you guys for 8 years became ultimately like real road warriors. Uh, but in 2019, you guys took a hiatus. Um, did did you just reach a point where you kind of like need a break, got to chill? What
I
or
think
is that overstated that you just took a couple months off and kind of did some other things?
I think hiatus is painting it too nicely, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean that was always like, okay, yeah, we'll say hiatus. Um, but I burned out. I was done. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was sick all the time. We were doing 200 plus shows for 4 or 5 years straight. We weren't home. I wasn't handling it well. No, none of us were doing great, but I was definitely the first one to pop. And um, I just quit, and I was like, nope, never want to see you guys again. Um, which is, incredibly sad to think about now. Um, and then that 4 years away from the band, we didn't talk at all. Um, it was like I was in my head about it. I didn't know what I was actually upset with or disappointed in. Um, but then I took a bunch of shrooms and got some therapy, and I said, And I called and I was like, "Hey guys, I miss you guys as friends. Like I miss the friendship." And I didn't have any intention of getting the band back together. I just wanted to like call and be like, "Hey, I miss you guys. I'm sorry." Um, and then we decided to get together just to hang out again. And very quickly we were like, "What have you been working on? What have you been doing?" You know? And it was all of a sudden we were like trying to reestablish trust with each other and have fun together again. Um, but yeah, I think we've painted it as a hiatus because it's all panned out now. And I couldn't be happier to be back with these guys and so grateful to have, reestablished like the friendship and the trust that's needed to be in a band. It's
All
hard.
right. So Lee fucked it all up, but shrooms saved you guys. You're saved by shrooms. That
Yep.
should be that should be the name of the band, Saved by Shrooms. Um,
Well, that's
but
a follow-up album to Gone
yeah,
for Good.
it's gotta be. But, but Vinny, how did Lee is saying that he was the one who was really the most stressed out, but everyone was struggling. How did you and Ryan feel when that happened? I mean, was it hurtful? Were you kind of like, yeah, he's right. We gotta take a break. But how'd that
Oh,
make you
I
feel?
was pissed. I
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
so mad. I was so mad and hurt.
Yep.
But um, yeah, no, I didn't. It wasn't. I didn't feel like I was ready to call it quits yet, and I felt like we had just put in an astronomical amount of work to like kick open the door of like maybe we could start making actual money now.
Yeah.
And I could, maybe we could take our foot off the brake or off the gas in just a moment if we just stuck it out a little bit longer. But I mean, at the same time too, I think that is the narrative of the industry, I think, is that like, you just got to keep your head down and power through. And, after you get through this season of life, you're going to come out the other end and you'll be there. And I don't think that you ever get there now. uh,
Did did
Now, kind
you
of looking back on things.
did you and Ryan have any conversations about trying to replace Lee, or was it just kind of like, fuck this, we got to do something different?
Yeah, no, we tried to get our friend Rachel involved to um, sing for the band. We released an album and did um, kind of more of a country leaning thing for a minute, and it just really didn't pan out and didn't feel great. And then that era of the band fell apart in 2000 and like December 2019. Um, we got an email and Rachel was just not into it and wanted to move on. Um, Ryan had just moved to Montana. I had just moved to Portland, Oregon. Um, and we had gotten a couple inquiries for the following summer about like shows and weddings and stuff that we were thinking about doing as a duo or something like that. Just Ryan and myself. And then the pandemic came around and um, it's just kind of like, all right, that's kind of this is done.
Yeah.
And at that point too, like I was firmly under the impression that I was never gonna get on stage again. Like there was, I figured my shot at being able to play music in front of people was kind of over at that point, whether or not the industry came back after the pandemic.
Yeah. You thought my shot at hosting the Muppets is done. Not gonna
Right.
happen. Uh, so 2021, you guys get back together, and you release, I think, two albums. And but this one, Gone for Good, that just came out. you released on 30 Tigers, is produced by Dave Simonette from Travel by Turtles. Uh, it kind of feels like a really good comeback story.
It definitely feels like a victory in a lot of ways. Um, like Vinny said, like I was trying to do a solo thing, um, and like slowly falling out of love with being in the industry. Um, and the pandemic didn't help that. And I was doing way more carpentry and woodworking in Nashville than I was doing anything else when I was down there. Um, which is probably the only reason I wanted to play music, to be honest. So I wanted to again, and um, I guess the intention was never set to play music and again. It was about the friendship. It was about like reestablishing, um, that joy to be with each other. Um, and I think what we quickly realized as a group was like, man, making music together is one of the most fun things we ever did together. Um, and I feel like Dovetail, the last record, was kind of that's a pretty joyful record. If you listen to it, there's like a lot of like healing and joy in that record. And then the newest record, Gone for Good, it's kind of a prideful record to me. It's like if we are persistent, if we keep going, if we keep working at this, knowing what we know now after all those years of trials and tribulations, it's like we get to do whatever we want. There's like so much pride and power and um, yeah, I don't know, just to exist as a band again, and it feels unstoppable at this point.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Uh, so the new album has gotten some pretty rave reviews. It feels like, speaking that, there's nothing that can't be conquered. It feels like this album is kind of a statement like that. I I love when music journalists start using phrases like fast grass or I don't know, funky country or whatever. I don't even know what these things mean, but because to me, all bluegrass is pretty fast, and that's the beautiful thing about it, or a lot of it is. But I mean, it feels like this is what you guys like the hard work early on, and even that tumult in between of that period of the breakup, COVID. It kind of feels like all of that has it brought you guys to this point?
I would say so. I think that there is a lot of self-exploration that came in that in-between era. And it takes getting past the second honeymoon phase to kind of like really make sense of that. And I feel like that's kind of what we got into with this album.
Mhm. I
You,
personally feel like it took that many years and that much like hardship and learning to finally discover like no, we get to do whatever we want, and I think that makes like I feel like we finally found our sound on this record. Like I finally feel like it feels right. It feels like us. Um, and I don't think we would have ever gotten there without all that other shit.
yeah, it's interesting in that there's a lot of raw emotional honesty on this record. Um, Sometimes that really works, and sometimes it can not work so well. I mean, I think the latest Jason Isbell record, which is a very stripped down thing. It's him kind of talking about his new life or what have you, but it doesn't feel like to me it didn't feel like what I wanted to hear from Jason Isbell, and that's not a criticism. It's just art is subjective. But sometimes it that emotional honesty really creates something that's demonstrative of all the struggles you've been through, and sometimes it doesn't. But it feels like it's really like all of the work and everything you guys have put in over the past 14, 15 years, like it's all kind of contained in this record. To your point, Lee, like this is the culmination of it all. This is like it. And then it's just like, how do you grow from here? So I guess that'd be my next question is, have you thought about like, well, shit, this is a really good record. How do we take it from here?
We were just talking about it in the van.
Yeah.
Like putting dates on the calendar right now for studio time feels like impossible. It feels and it's not that we aren't writing, like we're all writing and continuing to be creative, but it's like I feel like we all have just so much invested in this record. And like thinking about sitting down and trying to do it again, I think is going to take some time and maybe some like hope and I don't know. It's going to take some extra juice to get there again.
Hmm.
But from what we've been hearing in demos, I couldn't be more excited about like what's to come. I feel like we're just beginning to feel like we can be honest with each other without just being, incredibly depressed and
Yeah.
completely tired and exhausted people. There's a little bit more of a poignant aspect to all of our songs now, and I'm excited about it. But thinking about putting dates on the books feels scary, but
Yeah.
exciting, I guess.
I mean, for me, it's like, I'm not ready to move on yet.
Just kind
Yeah,
of
same.
just kind of enjoying like basking in this. You're on the road playing the new music along with some of this, your standards that you've had from the last 15 years.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we,
Uh-oh.
sorry, my
Oh,
daughter's,
no, we don't allow
uh,
interruptions, especially from children. That's not allowed. No.
that was funny. I lost my train of thought.
You were gonna say we recorded this
Oh yeah,
a year and a half ago.
we recorded this a year and a half ago, and we've been just kind of like working at dialing everything into like how this release is gonna go,
Yep.
and we haven't even toured on it at all yet. So, with all that kind of combined, and I'm still kind of in the victory lap era of just like just want to enjoy it. I want to sing these new songs to people who have known us for years and see if they're as excited about it as I am, because I think they will be.
Still in the victory lap era. Vinny Donatelli, Lee Hankey from The Last Revel. Thank you so much for being a loadout, guys. Really appreciate having you. I know you're going to be on the road all this fall. Um, where's the best place for people to kind of dig you up? I imagine streaming platforms, your website, Tinder, whatever,
No, it's
Bumble
Raya.
Band,
We're
actually.
all on Raya now with this record.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they can just go to our website. All of the stuff that you need to know about us is on there. It's just thelastrevel.com.
Right on. The Last Revel. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show. Great talking to you, and best of luck in the future.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
us.
it.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Loadout Music Podcast, hosted by Atomic Junction frontman Aaron Perlett. Find all of our episodes and more at loadoutmusic.com.